Hi, everybody. Good evening. Well, good evening in Boston, and welcome to Understanding Your Financial Aid here at Boston University. My name is Rebecca Castley. It may show as Boston University admissions, but my name is Rebecca, and I'm here with my wonderful colleague, Julie Wickstrom, and so she's going to handle the question and answer portion of tonight's programming. So you'll see at the bottom of your screen, you have the opportunity to ask us questions, and we will do our best to respond to all of them. Hopefully, the majority of questions that you have, I will be answering during this webinar. But if you want to ask them at the beginning to make sure we got to them, Julie can start answering them at the beginning if you want to save them to the end. If you just want to say hello, we appreciate outside contact. I hope where you are, it was a lovely day today. It was a really lovely day here in Boston. The sun is still shining, and I saw little buds on the trees, and so I know spring has arrived. And so I actually went upstairs and brushed my hair a little. I don't know if everybody's been home these past few weeks, but I appreciated the opportunity to get to meet all of you. So I did brush my hair and put on my jacket, but my dog followed me upstairs because usually when I start putting clothes on at the end of the day means he's going for a walk, which I have to say quietly because he knows that word. So I just wanted to let you all know, while I am happy to be here, my dog is disappointed that he's not getting a walk, but instead he gets to hear this wonderful webinar. So this presentation is mainly for people that have been awarded financial aid at Boston University. I'm going to talk about the nitty-gritty, how to review your award. If you'd like general information, Julie did a wonderful webinar. It was exactly a week ago tonight that has general information. So you can pull that up and look at the general information, but this is really nitty-gritty, how to review your financial aid award. All right. So this is what we're going to start looking at. I hope this screen is familiar to you because congratulations to the students that are viewing this. You've been admitted. So I hope you experienced the confetti that rained down when you first accessed your BU portal. So this is a screenshot of the BU portal. The one glitch that I think is that parents don't have a login to this portal. So we really assume that the students and the parents are gathering together at the computer and all looking at the portal together. So this is the main screen, and you'll see it says financial assistance, and so that's being circled. You want to click on that, and that's when you'll start getting in to the financial aid portion of the award. So this is what the screen looks like. You can see 3 squares at the bottom. One says financial aid decision. That's where you want to go. The next is the checklist, and the next says Smart Money 101. So under the financial aid decision tile, being circled is where you want to go. So we're bringing you up to a financial aid award. And there's a lot of information on the screen, so it's a little small, so hopefully you're all leaning in and you can look at the information. It's great information. And this is where really it's helpful if the parent or who's ever helping the student finance their education gets together collectively and starts looking at the financial aid award. So you can print the screen. There's a little printer icon, but what I think you lose when you print it is the ability for all these the little eyes. That means there's tooltips next to each financial aid fund is what we call them. And if you click on that tooltip, it gives you a wealth of information, what that fund is, what it means, and what you might need to do to get it renewed. There's also a link to explain BU scholarship assurance that I'll talk about in a minute. And there's another link to our financial aid guide. And this includes all the information you'd ever want to know about your financial aid at Boston University. I'm sure every one of you has read it cover to cover and highlighted it. So if I quizzed you, you'd know it. But this is where it's sort of like the do all to end all the financial aid, and the link is right here. So if you just print this, you lose the ability to look at the guide and the scholarship assurance information. So here's what you can look, how you can read your financial aid award. We've set it up in 2 sections. So the first section you'll see is called scholarships and grants. So I like to think of this with the G words. Grants are good. They're gift aid, money that doesn't have to be repaid back. And there's basically 3 sources where these scholarships and grants come from. They come from Boston University. So those are the top 2. And the ones that are in bold and with that little plus sign, that is from Boston University. The next source of grant funding can be from the federal government. So that's the next two that this student's been awarded, that federal SEO grant and then the Pell Grant. That's from the federal government. The next is a state scholarship. So if your state, typically Massachusetts or other states we have reciprocity with, awards a state scholarship, this is where you'd see it. So you'll see it's nice. We summed it up the fall semester, the spring semester, and then a total. So that's how it will credit to the student's account. We award per semester here at Boston University. Then the next section you'll see is called self-help aid. So that's aid that I like to think of, we call it self-help aid. It requires an action step or repayment by the student. So this is where we include the federal WorkStudy program. So it's considered financial aid because the student actually needs to go out and get a job to earn this money. So I'll talk about that a little bit more on the next slide. But if the student had been, like many students are awarded a federal direct loan, this is where that would be included under the self-help section. So you'll see that's where, oops, sorry, scholarships and grants, going ahead too fast, are at the top, and then self-help aid is at the bottom. So something confusing that many families, when we meet in person, ask about is the WorkStudy program. You'll see this student has received $2,000. Confusing, it's all under the fall semester. Why, if every other aid source is under both semesters, why is just the WorkStudy under the fall semester? We tried to help make this clear. You'll notice it says federal WorkStudy / academic year. $2,000 is what this student can earn all next academic year. So that includes the fall and the spring. If the student is starting in the spring, then it's just the spring. We didn't want to say, oh, you have to earn 1,000 in fall and 1,000 in spring. If the student wants to get a slow start, get their foot on the ground when they come to campus in the fall, they can choose to earn 500 in the fall and 1,500 in the spring. That's why we didn't split it between semesters, because the student has the opportunity to decide the best way for them to earn the funding. But it's often confusing. Students think they aren't receiving it for the spring. It talks about, so you might be looking at your financial aid award and think, ooh, that sounds great, working on campus. I'd love to take advantage of that, but I don't see federal WorkStudy on my financial aid award. That's okay. So the federal WorkStudy is from the Department of Education. So it's actually considered financial aid because the office that the student works for doesn't have to pay their full salary. The federal government believes in students working on campus, so they help us by subsidizing the WorkStudy program. So a student does have to have eligibility for financial aid to qualify. But if you don't see WorkStudy on your award, that's okay. There are thousands of jobs on campus that don't require the federal WorkStudy program. More good news, yay for employment, is that the minimum wage in Massachusetts is $12.75 an hour. I was looking earlier, so that's one of the highest states. And students will earn at least $12.75 an hour. Students can work no more than 20 hours per week. So that's good news. Most students work 10 to 20 hours per week. That's the law. So it's always, I find students do better academically. They meet mentors. Students will come to campus. They like a little more structure to their schedule. So I think it's a great idea for students to start thinking about the opportunity to work on campus. When will you look for a job? So the student job boards will start being available in the summer, towards the end of the summer. We want you to have your schedule. So we want you to have your fall schedule or your spring schedule so that you can look, okay, when are my classes? When do I have a block of time where I can work? You can work, when I was in college, I worked for the dining hall. So I like to call that sort of a mindless job. Or there's research opportunities with professors. There's a whole host of jobs on campus. And you'll see that they're called federal WorkStudy because we know that you're a student first. So if a student calls our office and says, Julie, I'm working on Wednesday, but I have an exam that I need to study for, and explains that, Julie will say, great, good luck on that exam. Whereas if you work at a restaurant nearby, you might call up and say, oh, I can't come in, I have an exam. And they'll say, I'll see you on Wednesday. So working on campus is just a really good idea. You'll also have noticed, and we got a lot of questions about this, if I go back to the financial aid award, the little blurb at the top said, we are pleased to offer you a tentative financial aid award. And what does that mean? So what it means is here at BU, we have quite a number of students that are applying for financial aid. So in order to qualify, we just ask for 2 applications to be completed on time, the FAFSA and the CSS Profile. And then if needed, the CSS Profile from the household that the student doesn't live with. If the student completes those, we're able to give the financial aid award. After the deposit deadline of May 1st, we'll go out to the families and we'll ask for what we call your income verification documents. So those typically are the parent and student 2018 federal tax returns if the student filed, and the parent's W-2 forms. If you say, what, I didn't know, we haven't asked for them yet. So if you've sent them, excellent, but we haven't asked them yet, we will do that close to May 1st. Some schools might have asked for them before they gave you your initial award, and you might have sent them to the College Board through their document servicing, but it's okay. We will ask for them later in order to finalize your award. If the information you provided on the CSS Profile and FAFSA is relatively consistent with your tax returns, we will finalize your award. If it's very different, we might ask for qualifying information, or we might need to make some adjustments. If you're worried about this at all and you would like a finalized award before you make your enrollment decision, you can send us the tax returns early and just ask for us to finalize the award. But that's what it means to be tentative. We'll follow it up later and ask for 2018 tax documents to just verify the award. So now you know your award. You need to figure out what that means and what will BU cost you. So here you see that same student, here's their financial aid award. They have the housing grant, the Charles River Housing Grant. They have a Richard Cohen Scholarship, which is a generous financial aid award, and there's their federal and state aid, and then their WorkStudy. So that's their award. And what they need to do is figure out, well, what does that mean? It looks like a big number to me, but what does that mean? So here's Boston University's cost of attendance, and this is for 1 year. So it's for fall and spring, or if you're admitted to the College of General Studies, you start in the spring and you have similar costs in the summer. So every student can use this as a guide of what will cost next year. So the difference between that total cost and then your financial aid is going to be your out-of-pocket expenses. So these are what you're billed for. So tuition and mandatory fees is that $1,218. So students often ask, well, what are these fees? So an example is their student organization fees. I actually just went into our website. If you Google in the search bar student fees, you can see a listing of all the mandatory fees and then the fees that you can start to consider to waive. So those are the fees. Then the room is where you're living, and the board is what we have a way to call the meal plan. So that's your dining expense. And then other expenses that we know students incur, like books and shampoo and laundry detergent, because you're not living at home. So putting them all together, we get our total cost of attendance. There we go. And how do you figure it out? We have put together this amazing planning calculator, and I might ask Julie to help me now, because this is where you can look at your financial aid award and then poke the information right into our planning calculator, and you can get the cost that you will actually have to pay next year. So this is right on our website. The website is at the bottom. It's financial aid, aid basics. Do you want to pull it up, Julie? Or she's muted, but she's thinking.
I sure can. I was muted. I will do that. I believe what you need to do, Rebecca, is stop sharing the screen so then I can start sharing it.
Done.
Great. So what I'm going to do is actually just go to the website so you can see also where I get to, how I get to the calculator. So if you look here, you can actually go right here to see forms and calculators. We try to make it as obvious as possible. And then you click planning calculators and scroll down a little bit. And then your expense planning calculator for your first year. So here it actually helps you include all that information. So tuition and fees is the same for all of our students, our undergraduate students. So that's pre-populated for you. housing is most likely going to be a standard room and board charge, so that is going to be that $16,640. All students who live well, I should say all students that attend school in Massachusetts are required to purchase health insurance. So that's that charge there. So we'll assume that the student is required to do that. But if you have a qualifying health insurance plan from another state or Massachusetts, then you can waive that. An orientation fee to attend orientation later, that will bring your total to $77,493. And this is where you can find out your net cost. So you can actually put in your amount. Say you have a $30,000 scholarship and you think maybe you have another award from an outside agency outside of BU for $2,000. So you can put that right there. And then you'll get the amount that your total credits, and then this is the amount that you're expected to pay after that. And then below, there are some other expenses that you might have that Rebecca talked about. And then also where you can find some other options that might help with those expenses with the loan amounts that the students are already awarded. So yeah, I definitely encourage you to use that calculator. Let me stop sharing so you can go back to your presentation, Rebecca. Great. So we will go back in. Let me share the presentation again here. Looks like Rebecca's connection may have got, maybe I knocked her offline by accident here. Let me go back into her presentation. See if we can pick up where she left off. So we were talking about planning for all 4 years. The other great news is with the scholarship assurance, students can be assured that their scholarships, including merit and need-based, are guaranteed for 8 semesters. And that BU award is automatically renewed, and you do not have to complete an application for that to happen. So that's a really unique thing to BU, that just automatically happens. The award will never be reduced. It could actually increase. So we know that particularly right now with circumstances going on, that there might be reasons that you ask for your financial aid to be reviewed again. That could definitely happen now or in the future. You do want to continue to complete the FAFSA each year to be considered for any federal financial aid. If tuition goes up, then any need-based financial aid that you receive through the university, so Boston University grant, will go up at the same rate as that tuition increase. Oops. Sorry about that. Credit-based loans is another great option for students that can help with those other expenses. So you may have received financial aid, you may not have, but all students could investigate credit-based loans. So it does require that it has somebody that has reasonably good credit so that they can co-sign the loan for students. So that's something to keep in mind. We actually have really great resources on our website that will allow you to look through some loan options. It's not an exhaustive list. There are many, many different loans out there. A lot of credit unions have really good credit-based loans. AAA has a credit-based loan. It seems like everyone does, but what's important about it is you want to look for an educational loan, not a consumer loan. So that gives the student additional benefits. Appealing your financial aid. So you can actually appeal your financial aid award. And that allows you to request reconsideration if you need it. We know right now with everything going on with COVID-19 that there are circumstances that could warrant additional financial aid, but it's really hard. It's an uncertain time right now. I think what we want to make sure that you know is that we're here for you. And we want to make sure that if you do have circumstances that are changing either right now or later, that we're able to take that into consideration because we've made a commitment to you. So how you upload the appeal form, so you want to go back into the portal and go to the financial aid checklist. And here is where you can actually select the financial aid as your document, and the document type is going to be appeal. You can actually submit your own form, but our website has a great appeal form that helps outline some of those circumstances that we would consider. So I definitely recommend that. Hey, Rebecca, you're back.
Sorry.
I'm gonna let you pick up where I left off. So I was just talking about the appeal form.
Oh, great. You want to keep sharing your screen, Julie, or do you want me to?
Sure thing. Whatever's easier for you.
Okay. Let's keep sharing your screen.
Yeah.
You want me to?
Yep.
Okay. Oh.
All
right. Your screen? Good?
Yep.
Okay, good.
This is my screen.
Okay, great. So this is a great guide to show you how to submit the appeal form, that you are privy to getting this information, because I think families are finding this a little confusing, because you submit it where it's called the checklist. So you see that was what we pointed you to at the beginning. It's financial aid decision, and right next to that you see the checklist. So if you click into the checklist, you'll see what type of document you want to submit. You're going to select that financial aid. Then there's another scroll down, select a document to submit. You're going to choose the appeal document, and that's where you'll upload a copy of that appeal form. It's secure, so if you want to include tax documents or anything with your financial information, this is a secure way to submit it to you through the portal. So that's why we use this functionality. But you upload your document, and then it will come in to us to review. So once we receive it, the question we got is, well, when will I know? How will I hear? So I think we are reviewing the appeals. Three things that I want you to keep in mind. We're reviewing them carefully. So we want to make sure we're reviewing all of the information you've provided, that we're looking at it very carefully and reviewing the information, requesting any additional documentation we might need. And then we want to make sure we're reviewing them equitably. So with our limited funding, how can we assist as many families as we can, so equitably and then quickly. We know that you have that May 1st enrollment deposit, and that is the official final date, but we want to guide you the decision much sooner so that you can make an informed decision. So carefully, equitably, and quickly, the student will receive an email driving them back to the portal to see the decision. So that's good. There's nothing in the mail, so they'll get an email. So the student should keep checking their email for the decision. But that's how to submit it. And then for the next steps, if you want to just advance one more, Julie.
Sure thing.
So now is the time, and we'll talk about this next, is that we want to meet with you. So the staff in my office are so excited. We've spent the time reviewing your financial aid applications and sort of getting to know you by the numbers and what you put on the forms. But now we really want to talk with you and to help you make the decision if you use financially feasible for your family, and to give you the counseling tools that you need to make that decision. So we hope that you'll make a virtual appointment to meet with us. So we'll have a Zoom meeting. Hopefully the technology will be okay. I blame this my dog for this, because I think he's somehow wanting to go out, so he's he's pretty smart. But now's the time that you can make an appointment and then really be using those great calculators that we show you to make your 4-year financing plan. And then by May 1st, you need to acknowledge your financial aid award on the portal and submit your $650 enrollment deposit. If you're starting in the fall or the spring, it's a $650 enrollment deposit that does get credited to your first semester's bill. Then by June 1st is what we talked about to make your tentative award final. You'll submit your income documentation, so the 2018 federal tax return and parent W-2s. You'll submit them to BU, and we'll finalize the award. You'll get that award in early July, and that's when the bills come out. So you'll see your actual financial aid credited to your bill. If you are starting in the fall, the bills are due in August. And if you're joining us in the spring semester, the bills are due in mid-December. So we give you plenty of time to start thinking about credit-based loans that you'll need to borrow and making your payment plan. I think there's 2 more slides.
Mhm.
So this is more information how we can meet with you. We want to see you. So online, you can book a virtual appointment. There's that great website that I saw on Julie's screen when she was bringing up the financial aid calculators. It's called Just Admitted to Be You. It's on the financial aid webpage, and this is where you can find the link to book an appointment. So we have half-hour time blocks. We have them all week long. They go, some days we start at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and go to 5, and some days we start in the afternoon and go to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for folks on the West Coast or in other countries that might work better, we want it to be available to you. We also have Saturday appointments, and they go through the whole month of April. So if you think, oh, I'm all set, and then you think of a great question you need an answer to, and that's April 17th, go ahead and book a financial aid appointment. We will send you a link to set up the Zoom meeting. So if you have the ability to have the video camera and the voice on, that's what we'd love to do, so that we can see your smiling faces and you can see us. If you don't have that capability, perfectly fine as well. We can have a phone call, or we can do it if you just have a microphone in your computer. We'll do whatever works best for you. So you can book the virtual appointment. You just need your student ID number and submitting some email information, but you can book the appointment. We start tomorrow. I know tomorrow is completely booked up, but again, we're going through the whole month of April. So go ahead and do that with your questions. And then we want to know, what questions can we help answer for you? Excellent. She's backtracking.
I was muted. I was trying to turn my mute off. So Rebecca, there are quite a few questions about how WorkStudy works. So questions about whether or not students can, what if they run out of their allocation? Can they have 2 jobs? Can they work in the WorkStudy program and the student employment program? Those are some of the questions.
Yeah, so what we award you is initially your allotment, and we find that amount works for most students, but there are some students that we do review appeals for extra funding, especially as the semester is going on. And so definitely, if a student has been working, the 20 hours a week, then we can review appeals, and based on availability of funding, we're often able to approve the appeals, but you can ask for additional funding. So the law is you can't work more than 20 hours per week. So that doesn't matter if it's WorkStudy or student employment, but you can have 2 jobs, definitely, if there's 2 10-hour jobs a week, but you can't work more than 20 hours a week at an on-campus job. We want you to also focus not just on your academics, but on your social life and on your clubs and on research and on internships. So we want to make sure that it's a reasonable amount. So 20 hours a week is the maximum. 1 job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, but it can't be more than 20 hours a week.
And Rebecca, if there's a specific department that someone was hoping to work for, say the athletic department, what do you recommend that they do?
Great question. So typically employers, I don't want to say like get their acts together, but figure out what they need in terms, like who's coming back and what kind of work what kind of opportunities they'll have. So they'll put it on a job board, which is available at the end of the summer. So the best thing too is, like I said before, is for students to get their schedule, because the last thing you want to do is you're talking to your potential employer and they say, great, you sound like I really want you. The athletics office sounds like it's a great place for you. When are you available? And then the student says, like, I don't know yet. So it's great to come in with your schedule to say, oh, I'm available. I only have class on Tuesdays from 10 to noon, so I can work after noon to 5. So get your schedule, and then you can always reach out and you can get help through the student employment office, or you can reach out to the office you'd like to work for, but it's all online as well. So if you see they have an opportunity, you might just want.
Looks like Rebecca's muted again. I'm going to go on to a couple other questions. So there is a question about CGS and how that program works. So when students from CGS receive their financial aid award, they only see the spring award, but yet there's a summer semester as well. You do actually get financial aid for the summer. It's the same amount as the spring. we're just not able to display it in the portal, but you'll see there's a message within the financial aid award in the portal that actually tells you that you get the same award for the summer. So rest assured you will get that funding in the summer. There are some questions about how to apply for various scholarships, like the Richard Cohen Scholarship. That's something that you've already automatically applied for when you fill out your financial aid application. So if you were eligible for that Cohen Scholarship, you would have received it at that time. In general, if you haven't applied for financial aid yet, you should do it right away if you're planning to. Our deadline has passed, but if we do have funding available, we want to make sure that you're able to get it. So definitely don't count yourself out yet. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
I was answering a couple other questions that I found, but I didn't know if you wanted to pick up where you left off.
Great. Just talking about work and how it spurs lots of questions, and it's just, I think, such a great thing for students to work on campus. It's something that I'm really missing now, is seeing the students that work in our office and how you really learn about different, how to show up on time and different skills. So it's great to work on campus, and it's great that we're
So poor Rebecca, she was having challenges with her connection earlier. And Rebecca, I was just telling them you were having challenges earlier, and her husband assured her that she was made a priority on their internet, whatever that means, we're not quite sure.
Right. We have no lights on, no one else is on anything else.
And this worked fine last week.
Yes, when I wasn't.
But we appreciate your patience with us as we navigate this.
Thank you.
A lot of these questions, it seems like, have been answered, but one really good one, Rebecca, is if a student received a private scholarship, what will happen to their financial aid award?
That's a great question. So we do need to consider all sources of aid that are earmarked to help pay for your education in your financial aid award. So what we can do is we can award up to your federal aid or your BU aid eligibility, whichever is higher. And we don't want to touch any of that first slide, any of those scholarships and grants. What we'd want to, if we had to replace something first with this outside scholarship, we'd want to replace the self-help. So the student loans and WorkStudy. But I think the best thing to do is to reach out, either make a virtual appointment, give our office a call, and we can tell you how it would impact your award. We want it to fit in and make it most advantageous to you, the student, but we do have to consider it in your financial aid award, so we can't award you any need-based aid above your eligibility. So it's probably best for you to reach out to the office to just say, how will this, if you know the amount, how will this, or how much of an outside scholarship can I receive before my aid is impacted, because it is an individual review, but we want it to fit right in. That's our goal.
So Rebecca, if the financial aid checklist doesn't open on someone's portal, what do you recommend that they do?
Oh, no. I think send us an email to FinAid, and that will get us looking into what could be the issue, because we want to make sure that it's not impacting other students or to see what's problem. But yeah, send an email with your BU ID and your name. If you have any screenshots of what you see when you try to access the checklist, that would be great and helpful too, and we will get that figured out.
And can you tell us what will happen if a student has a sibling that enters college later on? Will their financial aid change?
That's a great question. So for Boston University, because we have that Julie spoke about, the scholarship assurance, we look at your household and what you reported on the CSS profile. So we know that there could be years upcoming that you and that younger sibling are coming to college together. So we do make the assumption that if the younger sibling is 15 or older, that they will be enrolled with you. So your current Boston University need-based scholarship is making the assumption that your sibling will be enrolled with you. So we did allow for that, and you might have gotten a little bit more need-based scholarship at BU than other colleges, because we want to normalize your award for 4 years. So we say, we assume that sibling's coming. If you'd like us to reconsider, or if that's, you have exorbitant loans or something else, we're happy to look at it, but we have made that allotment for that sibling to join you in college in subsequent years. So it is part of our calculation if the sibling is currently 15 or older.
Rebecca, somebody is seeing that there are no financial aid appointments left. Will there be more posted?
So they do, it's listed by week, so we can look into it. I know there's no more tomorrow and potentially Thursday, but if you keep clicking further on into the month, there should definitely be more because we have them every day. So click a little further. You might not see it from that first screen, and then I know there was availability this morning, so there should be. If you still don't see it, again, use that FinAid and send us an email and we will look into it.
And let me share that screen again for people so we can get that. People can see exactly where that section is.
That's a good idea.
So if you're on the main website and you just go down, scroll down to where it says just admitted to BU, that's where you find all this great information. So this is where you can actually click on here to schedule your appointment. And then you can see that
now you're going to see if I was right, Julia. Yeah.
Yeah. You can see there's no
so
availability.
See that little arrow
just
there?
Wow. Click the arrow and then you can see there are appointments.
Yeah.
That's
so those
all.
are for
the little arrow you need to click. So good news.
It's nice
we
to feel popular.
Still have appointments. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to be busy.
There's more questions about appealing, Rebecca. So what happens if a family contribution has changed due to current economic situation?
Yeah, so you'll see the appeal. I think it's great to pull up that page when later this evening or tomorrow when you have an opportunity. And we on our form we actually have check boxes that explain the circumstances that are typically what we can review in an appeal. So it has to be because we're meeting your eligibility with our award, something has to be new or changed or something that we weren't able to consider. So we want to hear everything that's impacting your ability to finance Boston University. So you are welcome. There even is a box for other. Include what you feel has happened, whether it's a recent occurrence or whether what happened, your 2019 income was lower, and we will see if we can consider it and increase your award. So I think the first part is just initiating the appeal process. Put on the appeal form what is right now making you nervous about financing a BU education, and then if we think, oh, that's something that I can use, we will reach back out to you. There is a box for COVID-19. We know that many families are nervous, and whether it's your 529 plan that's seen a substantial decrease, a loss of a job, it's a nervous time. So we want to hear and we want to see if we can do anything now to increase the grant, or is it something that we might consider before the spring semester. But initiating the appeal process is the way to go.
Great. Rebecca, can students apply for financial aid from the different colleges within BU, or is all the financial aid awarded centrally?
That's a great question. It's a central awarding process. So the good news is, though, if you apply to, say, the College of Arts and Sciences, and then you decide, oh, I actually want to join the School of Management, or if I want to join Question, the School of Management, or I want to join the Wheelock School of Education, your financial aid goes with you. So it's more of a centralized process for undergraduate education.
And there is a question about how students can find out information about Parent Plus loans.
Oh, okay. So if you go to the credit-based loan section, there is information about the Parent Plus loan. We process them, you fill out a short form and we will process it here at Boston University. So there's more information about who's eligible, the interest rate, which will be set again in July, how to apply. There is an origination fee with the Plus loan, so you can figure out how much you should apply for. But there's great information, as Julie's pulling you up right now, on the loan and finance aid section. So it's a parent loan. It's a credit-based parent loan for undergraduate students is the one that you want to be looking at. That gives great information. It is on the list. There it is. Federal Plus Loan, top of the list. Right there. So once you click on that, a whole wealth of information about that Plus Loan is going to come up. So you don't want to apply until June, mid-June, because we can't do credit checks yet. They're not good for that extended period of time. So now's the time to be researching, thinking, making sure that your credit report looks good, and then you apply for the fall semester in June timeline.
So there was a question about the bill. So the question was, how much of the fall semester is due in August?
So the fall semester, the whole the whole kit and caboodle. So your fall semester bill, which will include tuition, what you're billed. So we don't bill you for books or personal expenses or travel. Those are things that we want you to assume and plan for, but we're not going to bill them here at Boston University. So what you're billed for is tuition, those mandatory fees, and then your room and dining plan. So that all of those charges minus the financial assistance you've been receiving, that is what's due in August in advance of the fall semester. So the biggest deadline you need to remember as an incoming student is if you're living in BU housing, that you really can't move in until you have your bill paid, until the bill is settled.
So Rebecca, does the Richard Cohen Scholarship cover meal plans?
The Richard Cohen Scholarship, it's set based on that full cost of attendance. So that does include, it's based on your full costs. So the tuition, the fees, the room, the meal plan, and then we take away your expected family contribution, and that determines your eligibility for the Cohen Scholarship. So if your expected family contribution is, say, $3,000, the Cohen Scholarship will cover tuition and fees and your room and board charges. If your Boston University contribution is $20,000, the Cohen Scholarship will potentially just cover your tuition. It will be slightly smaller.
And you mentioned earlier about providing your tax returns to finalize your award. How will students be notified about that process, and what is the process?
Sure. So we'll notify you closer to May 1st, and the process will be continue to use the portal. It's a bit early now, but what will happen is when you go into the portal, the documents we need from you will show up in your portal. So they'll be required documents. You do not see them now because we're not asking for them now. We don't want you to feel like you're late with something. So once you've submitted the enrollment deposit, you'll see a different set of documents that we're requiring. So that's usually towards the end of April, beginning of May. But again, you'll use that BU portal. It's secure. The student can upload it, and we hope it makes the process easier, that you can just upload it right through your portal that you're used to using, that you're familiar with. But we haven't asked for them yet, and they will be shown as required, so you know exactly what you need to do.
And is there a payment plan that students can use, and when does that start?
Yeah, great question. We do have a payment plan. So we have one for fall and one for spring. So they're each 5-month payment plans. Ideally, it's hard to believe it's a month away. Ideally for the fall, it begins in the middle of May, so about May 15th, and it spreads your payments out equally over 5 months. And there's no interest accruing on this money. There's a small fee to join the program, but instead of having that lump sum payment due for the semester, you can spread those payments out over 5 months. And then again, you would join for the spring semester, and you'd start in October, and you'd go through the spring semester. So 5 months for fall, ideally beginning in May, and 5 months for spring. There's information, if you might have received in the mail, I'm not sure if Julie mentioned, this is cool brochure. It's called the four steps brochure, we call it, and that explains a little bit more about the payment plan, credit-based loan options, and how to figure out your costs. But we do have a payment plan here at BU.
Great. How long does it take to get a decision if I've just submitted my application?
You've just submitted your financial aid application, so the FAFSA and CSS Profile. So right now, because we have passed the deadline, we'll review your financial aid applications for the federal aid that you're eligible for. And if once you receive that, if you'd like to ask for reconsideration, you should complete that appeal form. So we will review you and we'll offer you the funding available now, which is federal and state aid. You'll get that award. And if that doesn't make you possible, you should submit the appeal form, ask for reconsideration. But we're doing that daily. It should be pretty quick.
Does BU use my EFC based on the FAFSA, or is it calculated differently?
Great question. So we use the information provided on the FAFSA and the CSS profile, but what drives your Boston University eligibility is basically the information on the CSS profile. So we do consider home equity, so your home value minus your home debt is asked on the CSS profile. That's not on the FAFSA. That does drive your Boston University family contribution. Something that drives it is those siblings in college. So the FAFSA, if you can remember back to filling it, it just says how many students in that household are going to college in the year 2021, and you think, and then you say 2 or 1 or 3. But on the CSS profile, it says what type of college, and then it asks for the ages of the siblings. So that really helps us craft your BU family contribution, and we feel it gives us a better idea of that family's ability to finance BU. Also, you had that special circumstances box that we could take into consideration. So oftentimes a family will have a higher eligibility for BU money than they do from federal, because we can consider special circumstances, we can make allowance for certain things, but the FAFSA is your federal eligibility, and then the CSS profile drives your eligibility for Boston University need-based scholarship.
Right. How would you use loans for a first payment in May if you're not applying until June?
So great question. So just to clarify, your first payment is only due if you're doing the payment plan. That is due, starts in May. So it goes May, June, July, August, September, so that you're done in September. If you're not using the payment plan and you wanted to apply for loans, then you do it in June and the payment's due in August. So the only thing that begins in May, in the middle of May, is that payment plan.
Rebecca, for families that aren't from the East Coast, can you talk a little bit about what some non-school related expenses are in Boston?
Sure.
Also, maybe a little bit about our financial literacy program.
Yeah, that's great. So you saw the link, and it's even a bar on the portal. So there's the financial aid decision, the financial aid checklist, and then we call it Smart Money 101. And that's our financial wellness program run through the financial aid office. And it shows you low cost things to do in Boston, that buzzword budgeting. We talk about budgeting, but more than that, we share tips, what's worked with students. Just start thinking about money, even loan repayments. And so that if it's part of the conversation, it just makes you better financially prepared to enter the world after BU. So think what you might want to consider is, so it's a choice, everything. So there's lots of free things to do in Boston, especially through Boston University. I think you could fill your whole schedule with free things, but you might want to, there's many delicious restaurants. So if you thought, oh, maybe once a month I will allow, to go out to a restaurant, or there's theater that, you can not spend the money, but there are opportunities. Also, because you're not living at home, the student does need to think about buying, toiletries and going to CVS. That's the drugstore we have here, to buy their own shampoo and laundry detergent, and then using the university washing machines and dryers, that kind of thing too. But really it's what the student chooses, how much they need for spending money here at BU. And that might be, I know there's lots of virtual open house program going on through the schools and colleges that have students involved. So while Julie and I are lovely, ask a student too, like, how much spending money is it really? Because I am not a student. And so I would ask students that, and I think that would be a good avenue to go, like, how much spending money is realistic living in Boston? And we are a city, and there are great things to do, but what can you do that's free as well?
What about later on? So if a student didn't get a scholarship, either need-based or merit-based this year, could they get them in the future?
Great question. So for merit-based scholarships, those are almost all of them are given out by the admissions office at the time the student's entering Boston University. But for a need-based scholarship, we're happy to review your aid applications at any point in the student's BU career. So you would need to file the CSS profile and the FAFSA, submit your tax documents, and then we would consider the student for their aid eligibility. If there's a change or something's happened, you can submit that in a letter that we can always review, but you're welcome to reapply for need-based scholarship at any point in the student's career. And once you're a student here, it's Julie and I, we want to help that student succeed, and that means financially succeed here at BU, and we're here to help. I think that's why we do what we do. We want to be helpful and to really listen to your circumstances and do what we can to make BU continue to be financially possible. And it might have been that when you came in, you thought you could make it work, and then something unexpected. I think we're all used to that, knowing that unexpected things happen. And that's what we are here for. We want to hear about that. We want you to make an appointment and we can talk about it and give you the options of what we can do.
Great. Rebecca, can you talk a little bit about the benefits to a direct loan versus a private loan?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the direct loan, the interest rates won't be set till July, or they change in July, but they're set. And I don't remember what they are right now for the new year. Do you know what they are right now?
No, we changed. Yes,
they just changed
once a year, so it's not always easy to keep track of.
Right, 4%.
Yeah.
And so the problem with student loans in the student portion is they're limited. The amounts are limited. So the first year students are eligible for a base $3,500 plus an additional $2,000. That's the maximum of federal direct loan that a student can receive. Now there's the plus loan, so the parent loan that a parent can apply for. That does have a slightly higher interest rate. It also has an origination fee associated with it. So just like other credit-based loans, you want to look into that. Now, federal loans have what we call borrower benefits. So there really are great repayment terms. They can be longer if you remain in school. So they're from the federal government. So if you hear in the news now about loans being forgiven, they're talking about these federal loans, but the amounts are smaller. Now, credit-based loans, educational loans that can be either in the name of the parent or the student. Right now, I was looking at the interest rates the other day and I saw a variable of 2.8%, a fixed of 3.5 or 3.7. So the rates are quite low. It does have a credit check. So that could be a detriment to some families. And then they might not have as many borrower benefits as, say, a federal student loan or even the Parent Plus loan. And then you can't, so if the student doesn't want to just have a loan in their own name, that federal, the amounts are limited by the federal government.
Great. I'm just looking through the questions to see if there's some we haven't answered yet.
There's a lot. I love the calculators. So there's some even on our page, if you look through, we highlighted one, but there's one that allows you, we had that question about why the loan timeline and the payment timeline. So it says to the family, how much do you have available per month, realistically, to put towards the student's education? So whether you say $50, $1,000, $10,000, whatever it does, it maximizes this calculator, the amount that you use in the payment plan. And then if we're not able to make it work all in the payment plan, assumes that you'll take a credit-based loan and assumes you'll start repaying it now. So you'll have that same, whether it's $1,000, $2,000, your monthly payment will remain the same, but we're maximizing the amount you use in the payment plan because there's no interest accruing on that money. So I love those calculators.
Yeah, they're really great calculators. So I think, Rebecca, we've answered most of the questions. There's some here that
we're coming up to 6 o'clock, so that was
exactly. There are some here that are very specific, and I would definitely recommend, if we didn't answer your question, definitely make an appointment with our staff. We're happy to talk with you. It's a great way to get to know our staff, to also have them get to know you.
Mhm.
And they'll have access to all of your information so they can give you a really specific answer, whereas our answers are very general. So definitely go ahead and make an appointment with us.
I agree. Yes, thank you, Julie. And hopefully I'll meet with some of you as well. Yeah. And yeah, I think that we are here to, I hope what you've heard is we have great resources. I love our website. So I think it's really robust and has great information. So if you have the time now, check out the website and just do some clicking through and you'll find out a wealth of information. Make an appointment, ask us questions. We really want to be part of your decision. And then we want to be with you for your successful time here at BU. But we're super excited to meet you and to congratulate you. And we are happy to have you, and we hope to meet you soon. So thank you for listening. And I'm not sure if Julie's sharing her screen, so just, but
Yeah.
we will see you in person very soon.